Good morning and welcome to Hordle and Tiptoe chat time again. Lovely to have you with us. Obviously, this is Bible Society Sunday for Hordle and Tiptoe. And my guest this morning was probably recognised certainly by the Hordle folk and by many of you as Sandra Tebbutt, Reverend Sandra Tebbutt. Sandra is now Church Engagement Lead with Bible Society. But I've asked Sandra to come and talk to us about her personal journey into faith with her husband, Chris, also the Reverend Tebbutt. Sandra, before I ramble on too far, I'll just let you please tell us about your story and how you came to end up with Bible Society. Welcome. Thanks very much for giving us this time.
Oh, thanks very much, Tim. Yes, I'm delighted to share my story with you. I'm to when I was 30 years old, which I know is a long time ago. But that's really when things started to significantly change for me. And what happened is life was fantastic. We had a wonderful home. Chris and I, a wonderful marriage. We had a lovely little 3-year-old boy. I had my own business, and my husband worked at IBM and had a great career. And we thought that we had everything in control in our lives. And I was delighted. We were both delighted. I was expecting our second child. And as things went on with that pregnancy, I had a few problems, but I ended up going into early labour. And I was taken into Winchester Hospital because we lived near there at the time. And I had our baby very early. She was 9 weeks early. And she weighed 7 ounces. Wow. And it was very touch and go. We had to leave her in intensive care unit. And after a week, I went home. And I know the times we went into to see her in ICU, and they'd say, oh, before you see her, there's more wires because she stopped breathing in the night. Oh, there's more wires because and it was a chilling time for Chris and I. And so what we used to do is we used to travel in every day to visit her and take milk supplies, which they used to feed to her down a tube. And as we were driving in, Chris and I found ourselves praying. And we were praying. We weren't Christians, by the way. We weren't Christians at all. But we found ourselves praying that our daughter would survive. And she did survive. Emily is now in her early 30s and is a music therapist, and she's lovely. She's a committed Christian. But it was fantastic. But we got her home. She's 5 weeks old. We were able to bring her home. I said to my husband, Chris, I'd really like to get her baptized. And the reason was, I think I just wanted to say kind of thank you that we have Emily. And my husband...
The presentation in the temple then, isn't it, really?
Exactly. And my husband said to me, why do you want to do that? Which is not very good because he's now a vicar. But anyway, at the time. And I said, well, I don't know. I just feel that it's something that I really want to do. So Chris said, oh, well, that's okay. Well, you arrange the baptism and I'll arrange the party. So anyway, we took her for baptism. But before that, the church we were in a village, they sent round some parishioners to come and meet us and talk with us. And as we met these parishioners, we thought, hey, these are great people, ordinary people. We hadn't really met Christians before. And gradually we got to know them. And we went to particularly a baptism preparation evening, actually in an old stable block, so very appropriate. And at that meeting, which was run by a church warden, because it was an interregnum at the time, the church warden stood up and said to Chris and I and the other couples there, they showed a staircase films, and they said, if you were teaching your child to walk upstairs, you'd grab them by the hand and walk them up the stairs in case they fell over, but you'd take them by the hand and lead them. Well, in baptism, you're saying that you want your child to know and follow Jesus. So if you really mean that, that means you need to take them by the hand and lead them towards Jesus. And you're going to be promising to do this. So if you really mean that, what you're going to say, would you like to stand up and say this prayer with me? So Chris and I stood up and we said a prayer of commitment. And that really was the moment that our lives changed. And the next day we were in church, and I'd gone to Sunday school as a child, but Chris hadn't been to church at all, really, only weddings and things like that. So he didn't have any idea what was happening, but I remember someone sat next to us and showing us where we were in the book and things like that. And we were just bowled over, really, as we discovered Jesus for ourselves. But the second most significant point, I think, is we were in a home group, and we were studying a course called Saints Alive. I don't know whether any of you have done that, but in that course, you had to read huge tracts of the Bible in one go. Wow. And that was unfamiliar to us, apart from what I'd learned at Sunday school. And one of our homeworks was to read Mark's Gospel in one go. Right. And I can picture it now. We were sat in our living room, and we were both reading, the children were asleep in bed, and we both got our Bibles out, brand new NIV study Bibles, these great big Bibles, and we started reading Mark's Gospel. And as we read it, we kept looking at each other and saying, wow, this is phenomenal. And we said to each other, why hasn't anybody told us this before? And so our journey had really started, and we were completely committed. And it was a few years after that, actually, that our vicar came up to both of us to say, look, I think you've both been called to ordained ministry. And I said to Chris, oh, yes, I've been discerning that for a long time. And the vicar said, no, I mean you as well, Sandra. And I said, well, how can I? I've got little children. I think I was pregnant with our next one at the time.
Oh, really?
Anyway, Chris got ordained, and then I started training as soon as Chris was ordained. And now he's a full-time vicar.
Yeah.
I work at Bible Society. Yeah. So, so that's a little bit of our story. A few things happened before that, and obviously a lot more in between, but they're the kind of exciting bits, the bits that really changed the course of our lives. Because when we were called into ministry, we left our jobs, we took the children out of school, we sold our beautiful house, and we strapped the high chair on the roof of the car, and off we went to Nottingham to train for ministry and live on a tiny grant. But it was exhilarating, because we knew that actually what was really important was knowing God, was a life with Jesus. It wasn't what you had or anything like that. It was who you followed. And so it made a huge impact in our lives.
Sandra, that's such a wonderful story. I know you have shared it with me before. That's why I invited you to come and share it with everyone else, because it's such a powerful story. And in going through, I don't think that I was aware of the situation. I might have been, I'd forgotten, with your daughter who now has her own family. And I mean, what a blessing there. But it's curious, isn't it, how the Lord speaks to us and draws us in. And during this month, sorry, excuse me, we've had various people talking about their journey into faith. And I mentioned just now Paul Cowley a little earlier on in the month, coming from a different background to you indeed. But the Lord chooses, we've had this, the Lord chooses, it seems, the most unlikely soldiers, really, doesn't he?
Well, it can do, yes, but everybody's invited, aren't they?
Absolutely.
And it's just, things happen. And for me, I think when we first came to faith, it felt a bit like going to a cinema. Do you remember when there used to be a lot of 3D films? They used to be the thing. And I remember going to see a 3D film in the cinema where things come out at you from the screen. So it feels like that when you become a Christian. It's kind of like you've been watching a film on a flat screen, and suddenly it just comes to life. And
that's a brilliant analogy, that.
Yeah, it's the thing about kind of having the eyes. Suddenly we had the eyes to see it.
I'm rather sorry you used that analogy now, because everyone would have heard it, because I could have kept that for some time in Hordle. I remember if I used it now. But no, that's just brilliant. Thank you. And now, obviously, you're well set. How long have you, because you're at Camford, Chris is the vicar at Camford, how long have you been there? And when did you actually start with Bible Society, Sondra?
Yeah, well, we've been here, if I lose count, I can't remember even, but it's nearly 11 years, I think. Yeah,
right, yeah.
It's around that time. And we absolutely love it here. We love the people, we love the church, and we're part of a bigger team. It's a lovely spot just where you are, isn't it? It's beautiful. The church, the school, and your vicarage. It's beautiful there by the river. But we also have two other churches in our team.
Right.
with Vickers there as well. So
Okay.
we have a great team that
So
we
it's a
work
team
with.
ministry.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
But the way I got into, became part of Bible Society was I used to be, when I was ordained, I became a hospital chaplain in our local hospital. We lived elsewhere and were serving in another church at the time,
Right, yeah.
which was a bit nearer to Swindon than I am here.
Yeah.
My husband actually saw an advert for this 3-day-a-week job with Bible Society, which was visiting churches and speaking in churches.
Yeah.
And I saw this advert. He said, "Oh, this looks like just the sort of thing that you'd be really good at." I thought, oh, no, I don't think I could do that, because our youngest was still in primary school. I didn't particularly like driving around the country, and I wanted to be around for the children. But anyway, after a lot of prayer, I felt a call to apply for the role. And so I had an interview and I was offered the role. And then when I was phoned up to be offered the role, I thought, oh, I'm not quite sure. So I turned it down. So
Oh, really?
But
that's right. That's your secret, just between us. It's all right.
Yes, that's right. Just between you and me. But the amazing thing is, that night when I slept, I had a dream.
Right.
And I dreamt that God was speaking to me, and God was saying to me, Sandra, I wanted you to do that. That was you. I wanted you to do that. And I felt terrible. I woke up and felt terrible. And I thought, well, I can't ring up and say I've changed my mind. So I just kind of let it go, feeling that I'd let God down, really.
Right.
Anyway, 3 months later, I went to a swimming pool in the Swindon with the family, and I bumped into the person who interviewed me. Isn't it? And I said to this person, oh, did you fill the post? I'm really sorry that I turned it down, but did you fill the post? And he said, well, we didn't actually. And so then I told him about my dream. And I said, if the post is still there, can I say that I would be delighted to be part of the team? And it all worked out anyway, that I then started with Bible Society just as my daughter was starting secondary school.
That's easier then.
We left at 8 in the morning, came home at 4 in the evening, and it meant that I could work without it affecting the youngest child. And so actually God had a plan. So it's a little bit...
And it's perfection, isn't it?
I was quite in line, but at the beginning. But he did speak to me, and it all worked out. I've been with them now for 15 years.
Oh, right, really?
Yeah.
I mean, there's something of the story of Jonah there, really, isn't there, Sondra? But I know you weren't spat out on a beach, but
Yes.
I mean,
That's
so
right.
often, where I go with that is that so often we feel ourselves we should go in a direction, and it's often, just as with Jonah, it's often exactly opposite to what God has that plan, and then it opens up. And you and I were just sort of talking before we started recording about the current situation. And throughout this month in particular, and all the way along, we're trying very hard on our online services to bring that positivity of God's love, and that God has a plan, God has a purpose, even though it may seem so dark at the moment or so questionable, and you just don't know where you are. God has that plan. Can I bring you on now to the work with Bible Society?
Yes.
And I blame you for my involvement. Thank you very much. It's lovely. I just love it. Yes, you're probably a bit like that person that interviewed you. Once you get hold of someone, you don't let them go, Sandra, I know. But no, it is so rewarding. And there are two things. The mission statement with Bible Society, that we believe that when people engage with the Bible, it has the power to change lives for the better. And the second one I want to take you to, that I remember from my training introduction course with Susan Wingrave in Swindon. And I just remember this earlier on. There is something in the conference room, and I can't remember the exact wording, but it's something where it's the effect of the Bible Society, we do not judge. And those two things, I don't know if that's still there, it was on the wall. Those two things really resonated with me. The Bible being able to change. And as a Bible Society, we present the Bible, and today we're recognizing the Bible Society work. Susan contributed. You, thank you very much for providing our end of service, the blessing, thank you, and of course Gareth's message. but the Bible Society is there to present the Bible to everyone. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is. We believe in we term it generous orthodoxy, which is a very big word, I know, but what it means is that we're there to serve the church. And what we do is we want to get the Bible into people's hands, help them to understand it. For example, around the world, there are lots of literacy projects because no having a book if you can't read it, and using it for things like trauma healing, which is a project that goes on around the world to help people after being through trauma, but using the Bible to help us to be healed from that and to see God in it. So it's about helping everyone everywhere to have access to the Bible. And the original charter was to provide the Bible without note or comment. So what we want to do is we want to make it available for all people everywhere. So it's a worldwide thing. So obviously there's work that we do in our own country, but really it's a movement around the whole world where there are, I think it's 147 Bible societies serving 200 countries or territories around the world. So each Bible society will serve its own people. Yeah. But Bible societies like ours and others are able to support that ministry where they're unable to do that themselves. And you may have seen our recent appeal for 88 Bible societies that were at risk because of the coronavirus and the pandemic. Yes. And so a big appeal to support those Bible societies that weren't able to, were in danger of having to close because they didn't have the resource to keep going. And I don't know the specific numbers, but I know that quite a few have been helped enormously through that project.
It's been massive. The information that's been coming out from Swindon is very, very positive about it. I know there's a new drive on that. I'll share a comment that was made to me, and maybe it was a throwaway comment when I first started with you, nearly 3 years ago now, I think. And yeah, maybe it was a throwaway comment, but it certainly set me thinking. At Bible Society, what do you actually do? Now, WaterAid digs wells, Tear Fund, they go out and they do all the work of mission in the field, etc. And on the one hand, I can understand that question being thrown at me. But at the same time, you and I obviously believe passionately, as do everyone at Bible Society, in what we're doing. To anyone looking and thinking, well, Bible Society, what do you actually do? What would you say in answer to that, Sondra?
Well, our kind of statement is, to sum it up in a few words, is we offer the Bible to the world. So that's kind of an overarching statement, but it is in lots of different ways. So, for example, in England and Wales, it's running programs like Open the Book. There's 3 strands to our work here, so I'll just go back a step. One step is to build Bible confidence. So surveys were done recently. We realised that there are some Christians who have told us that they don't feel as if they have confidence in the Bible. How could we help? And so that's a really big thing for us. So we have things like the Bible course, which I believe you've already done.
Several times. Four sessions, so it's 4 series so far in this Parish. Yeah.
Well, hopefully that's built some Bible confidence. It certainly did when I did it. Yeah, and there's the Bible series that's just come out that maybe you'll have in your church later on.
Yeah.
There are resources like that help us to build our Bible confidence, because once we've built our confidence, we're then more confident to share our faith with others. It's a really important thing to do, isn't it? Yeah. So we want to, so with that in mind, what we want to do is change the conversation about the Bible in the culture. So we did a survey, YouGov helped us do a survey, 20,000 people around England and Wales, and we asked some questions about what do they think about the Bible. And actually the perceptions of people who don't know about the Bible compared to the perceptions of people who do know about the Bible are completely different. So we wanted to change that conversation. Programs like Open the Book, when you go into it's teams going into schools. I think you haven't opened the book.
We have opened the book, and I think that they've started again. I'm not quite sure how they're doing it, but obviously this is fairly early in January that we're doing this. But wonderful team, very dedicated, absolutely brilliant. And of course,
it's a way of sharing, Bible stories, isn't it? With people that may not, children that may not hear them if they don't go to church or don't hear them at home.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe the only way they hear Bible stories. And we also have a website called Lumino, which is all about this, uses all the survey we found results from those 20,000 people.
Yes. Yeah.
And it will tell you can put your postcode area, your postcode into the website, and it will tell you the makeup of people in your locality, whether they're Bible loving, which is about 5% of England and Wales, or whether they're Bible dismissive, which is the very other end, and all the different persona types in between. And we're working on producing resources that will help us to understand the people in our communities, that we can reach them better with the news. So
that was the YouGov research, wasn't it?
That's right. That's the YouGov survey.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So there is so much going on, and obviously things like Home 360, which we will have put a little bit on during the service about that, and indeed in May, Sarah Bell came and spoke to us about the Psalm 23 garden, which obviously that will happen sometime according to coronavirus. Sondra, it's a wonderful picture, and thank you for that. Before we close, I wonder, can I just ask you, you mentioned Mark, and you would get, it's quite a task, isn't it, to be given the whole of one gospel. All right, Mark is the shortest gospel to read, but it's a wonderful thing because you get the picture as a non-Christian. Have you got any particular part of the Bible or character or whatever that particularly inspires you that you can share with our congregation this morning, or any particular verse, anything that comes to you at this time?
Thank you. Yes. Well, first to finish off what I was saying earlier about confidence and conversation, the third thing is about bringing Bible-inspired change. And that's what happened to me when I read Mark's Gospel. Right. So I read Mark's Gospel in one go. That carried on that change in my life. And the reason is because of the person of Jesus. And you say, what's my favourite part of the Bible? But I think it's those stories about Jesus and his life. So I can't pinpoint one particular bit, because I think I can remember going back to that first time of reading Mark's Gospel and reading all about Jesus, who he was, why he came, what he did, how our lives can change by following him. That completely changed my life. And I think that's my hope for others, in that there's so much hope for the future, that whatever your circumstance might be, however terrible your circumstance might be, there is this hope and joy that nothing can remove that from you. That's with you when you come to follow Jesus, and I think that's what Jesus offers us. And so I'm sorry that it's not a different figure that maybe you wanted me to talk about, but
not at all. No, it comes from the heart, Sandra, and it's that message of hope which we've been trying to give the whole of the time, because we know that we have people watching who are in very difficult circumstances, and really people are, and it's this message of hope. Jesus saying, lean on me, with all these, the message of the Bible all the way through, trust in God. And you just build on that and add strength to it. Thank you very much indeed.
That's right, because we have the promise of eternal life.
Yeah.
But we also have the promise of life in all its fullness right now.
Life in all its fullness now. Yeah.
And so there's that hope. And there's that lovely bit from Romans 5, the opening words from Romans 5 about hope, perseverance, producing hope. And that's just a lovely passage. Just meant a lot to me. in the
Well,
past.
Sandra, thank you so much. It's been lovely catching up with you via Zoom. I did mention to you before we started that my office cat, one of my office cats, is up there. I'm not quite sure if anyone's noticed ears poking up, or he's just kept his head down completely. I said to you, he just appeared in front of the computer for one of our guests the other day. Gave
Oh,
it quite
how
a shot.
lovely. Yes. Oh, I'm
But anyway,
sorry he didn't join us.
no, he's there we are. But if anyone's watching, it isn't birds, as one or two people thought last year. But Sandra, thanks so much. It's been lovely hearing your story. It's wonderful to think that from such a trial, when you had your daughter in those circumstances, that she's gone on to have a wonderful life as she is now, and it's brought two wonderful ministers into God's service. Thank you very much indeed. May the Lord bless your work and Chris's work and your family. And thanks very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you.